Alright, let's have a look at an example for a for loop. Let's say we have some sort of array with a bunch of numbers in there. Let's give it the numbers 1 up to 10. And let's say we want to look for a certain number, maybe the number 7. And we also want to find its index. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an index variable, and I'm going to set it to -1. And this way, I know that if it's still -1 after executing the for loop, it means that the value was not found, since -1 cannot be a valid index. Alright, so what to do? Well, I'm going to create a for loop, and I'm going to initialize an int I starting at 0. This is going to be looking for the element with that index in the array. And then it needs to be smaller than the length of numbers. Why? Well, otherwise I'll get an array index out of bound exception. And I'm going to increase I by 1 after every iteration. So what I'm going to do? Well, quite simple. I'm just going to check whether the value at I of numbers is equal to our search value. If it is, I'm going to store that in my index. At this point, if the value occurs more than 1 in the array, we'll have the last value in our index. I accept that feature for now. I just want to show you the result. So, and then here, I'm going to be printing the index. All right, let's run this. Let's check out the result. And as you can see, the value of 7 was found at index 6, which makes sense because it started at 1. So 1 had index 0, 2 had index 1, and 7 had index 6. So this works. Something else that you can do is that you can also nest loops. And there's multiple applications for nesting loops. You don't want to do this too often because it's also some sort of code smell. I'm going to comment out this code for now. And I'm going to create the nested loops right here. So what I want to do, I want to generate a multiplication table. So I'm going to create an outer loop for the rows. Just going to start at 1. And I want to do it up and including to 10. So I'll say smaller than or equal to 10. And I'll do row plus plus. All right. So what do I want to do for each row? Well, I want to loop over yet another loop for its column. This is how I get the table. So I'm going to say for the integer column, also starting at 1 until the column is equal to 10. And of course, increase column by 1 after every iteration. And in here, I'm actually going to print the formatted string this time. And here's how I'm going to do that. All right. Then I actually want to move on to a new line after each row. So after this inner for loop, I'm just going to do a new line with nothing on it. And now I'm going to run my code and have a look at the result. And as you can see, we can get quite a nice multiplication table. For example, if you look up 5, you can see that 5 times 5 equals 25. Or that 7 times 5 equals 35. Or perhaps 8 times 2 equals 16, etc. In the next video, we're going to have a look at the last loop we're going to discuss, the for each loop.